Hi Year 10, Mr. Tapley here for your next lesson of Year 10 Geography. This lesson we are looking at developing our understanding of human well-being around the world. So looking at different countries around the world and how they value human well-being, and practicing our research and data interpretation skills. So being able to look at a graph or a map, being able to read it, identify the important information, and explain what it is, why it's important. Success criteria is to complete the learning task, the National Geographic Sem 2 learning task in Google Classroom, by completing some research and interpreting visual representations of human well-being data. Fancy way of saying, can you see this map? Can you see this graph? What does it mean? So it's not as complicated as it sounds, I promise. So, people from different nations, cultures, and communities all value well-being and well-being factors differently. These differences are influenced by a number of things, including values and beliefs of the community, the environment, the language, the culture of the region. If I talk to any of you in the class, which is hopefully going to happen at some point this term, the person sitting next to you will probably have a different opinion about most things. They will probably value X higher than Y, and you might disagree with them. So they might value education over money, whereas you might value getting a high-paying job over spending time with your family. So there are different well-being factors that influence our health and happiness, and different people, different places, different countries place different values, different emphasis on which is most and least important. So that's what we are looking at in this learning task today. Before you move any further, please watch this video down the bottom here, how to measure happiness. It's very short, it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes long, and it's directly connected to what we are looking at for the learning task. So it's made by the same people. It was created for this article that we'll be reading for the learning task. So I highly recommend you watch that video there to help understand what it is we're looking at in this lesson. It probably explains what I'm trying to explain a bit more intelligently. So the learning task we're looking at today is the National Geographic learning task, completed over the next 2 or 3 lessons. You're going to have the full double period to work on this. If you don't complete it over the double period, that's fine. You'll still be able to complete it on Wednesday. It is due on Thursday though. So you got 2 lessons of class time. Don't finish it then. Finish it out of class before our lesson on Thursday. You will not have our Thursday lesson to complete it. So if you're having trouble with the workload, if you have questions, again, please let me know. Both Google Classroom and Compass have got support resources for you to help you complete this. And you are also free to email me or ask me a question via Google Classroom if you are having troubles. Learning task requires you to examine human well-being data around the world. So you're interpreting the data, you're responding with some analysis, some observations. So we're comparing well-being in Costa Rica, Singapore, and Denmark. So looking at human well-being, health and happiness in Latin America, Asia, and Europe. 3 very different parts of the world. I should remind you that this is an assessment. Hopefully I don't need to remind you, but it is a learning task. So I will be asking you guys to give me some really good answers, some detailed, specific answers. So it's a good opportunity for you to practice for the dev and then to practice for the cat. You give good answers in these learning tasks and these class activities to practice, to prepare, to get into a good rhythm, routine for the, I guess, the bigger assessments. So, what you're doing for this assessment, the National Geographic Learning Task, broken down into 3 sections. So the first 2 sections are really straightforward, really 1-2 sentence responses. So section 1, you're looking at some graphs of well-being data, and again, all you're doing is recording an observation. So you're quite literally telling me, this is what it says. Looking at human well-being in Costa Rica, Denmark, and Singapore. Section 2, you're looking at this atlas of happiness in the bottom left. I'll show you that in a bit more detail later, but it's basically a world map of happiness. You might be able to see the faint outlines of some of those countries around the world. So we've got Asia over here, North America, Europe, South America, basically showing you human well-being in a very visual, very colorful way. And all you need to do is interpret the legend and the data provided in the world map. Again, 1 or 2 sentence answers. Tell me what the map is showing, what it says. Section 3 is where you flex your muscles a bit. Reading the National Geographic articles on 2, not 3, but 2 of the nations that we're looking at. So you're trying to compare human well-being in Costa Rica versus Singapore, or Denmark versus Costa Rica. identifying key well-being information, and then comparing the two. So similarities, differences. So what you need to do this lesson, watch this quick little video, which I've linked in the slides. Then you're going to Google Classroom, and you're looking for the Sem2 Learning Task National Geographic. So we've got the learning task file here, so the Google Doc that I'll be reading through, the instructions, the questions, where you're putting your answers. And then this file right here is a nice little PDF of all the photos, all the graphs, all the maps, and the articles that you'll be using in this learning task. So, as you can see, we've broken it up into 3 sections. So section 1, section 2, and section 3. This is where you compare those 2 nations. So I'll walk through these questions quickly, because I'm mindful that I don't want to spend the whole double period explaining the instructions to you. I'd like you to use the double period to actually complete the task. But I'll try and give you some assistance on what these questions are asking for. So section 1, you're looking at these graphs on the right, and basically, again, just describing in 1 or 2 sentences what the graph is telling you about human well-being. So the following graphs provide information on different categories of well-being in each nation. So the things that affect our health and happiness, we've got physical, so our actual health, financial, so the amount of money we earn, community, where we live, social, so our relationships with friend and family, and then purpose, so having a meaningful life, having a good job, etc. So 5 different categories, and they're represented in this little graph on the right here. So you can see financial, social, and those numbers, the higher the number, the more important it is to their health and happiness. So the more important it is to their human well-being, the more they value it. And that's all you need to tell me over here. So what you're looking for is a high and a low number. So this graph shows that in Costa Rica, the most important thing to them is blank. So I would find the highest well-being value and write that down. The least important thing to their health and happiness, to their human well-being, the least important thing they value is blank. Find the low number, and then I move on. It's that easy. So 1 high number, 1 low number. Then I do the same for Denmark and for Singapore. That's section 1, really straightforward stuff. Section 2 requires you to look at that Atlas of Happiness. So if I go to this PDF here, I'll scroll down to page 4, nailed it. We've got this nice map of the world. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit so you can actually read those countries. But you can see we've got Australia in the bottom right, there's Europe, there's North America, and down the bottom, we have a legend. So you're probably looking at that and saying, what the hell does it all mean? These descriptions down here tell you what the different colors mean. They tell you what the different smiley faces mean and what the size of those circles represent. So all you need for question 2 is to really read these 3 things right here. So section 2. Ask you to examine the different elements of that world map, that Atlas of Happiness. Carefully read each question to understand the tools used and the information presented. So question 1, as that circle increases, what is happening to human well-being? Is it going up, down, sideways, backwards, back to front? 1 sentence, super easy. Question 2, as the face becomes happier, again, how is human well-being changing? Be specific, because they're all looking at different parts of well-being. So this is looking at daily happiness. The one at the bottom is looking at physical well-being. So you really just need to describe what's happening in those graphs, in those maps, in the National Geographic article. So really straightforward stuff. Question 4. 4A, which continent or continents have the highest daily happiness levels? So if I'm looking at that question, I'm looking for 1, some continents on my world map. So Africa, South America, Europe, and I want to find the highest daily happiness levels. So I'll find which of these 3 relates to daily happiness, and then if I zoom out a bit, I'll find which one appears to be the highest in terms of daily happiness. That question there, 1 word, 2 words, really straightforward. 4B, which region of the world do most people believe their physical well-being, again being specific, is thriving? So I'd look at my map, look at my legend, which part of this map is the most best physical well-being. 4C, in which region of the world Do they have low well-being? Do they have suffering? So very, very low human well-being. Looking at my legends, finding it on the map, writing it down. 2 words, super easy. Now, section 3, this is where we start to get into the big money stuff. In this section, you will compare well-being in 2 nations. So we've got the National Geographic articles, and they go through 1 or 2 pages about each one. So that's Costa Rica. Tells you about what's important to them, what influences their human well-being. Denmark, and then Singapore. Good photo down there. So you've got a couple of questions. All you need to do is tell me about human well-being in nation 1. So what's leading to their high well-being? How has it caused that high well-being? Nation 2. So you might look at Singapore and Costa Rica, Denmark and Singapore, whatever you want. And then you compare them at the end there. So what are some similarities? So maybe both nations value their health. They value physical well-being. Maybe differences. One of the nations values finance, one of them does not. Question 3, that's just a personal one, just a little bit of a reflection. Which nation would you rather live in and why? Include some well-being data in your response. So I'd use some of the numbers and statistics being provided in this graph, like, show me some numbers. Oh, I could use the graph. Anyway, so that's what you're looking at for the double period, guys. So you've got the full double period to complete these questions, to submit that to Google Classroom. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll finish this up before Thursday. We've got 1 or 2 more lessons before we look at our dev task. So it is important that you stay up to date. And important if you're not understanding something, don't just sit there and be unhappy or not do the work. Ask me a question. Tell me that you're struggling and I'll be happy to help as long as you let me know. But yeah, best of luck, guys. Hope you're well and cheers.